called my mom and I was like, hey, mom, if something happens to me in the next few minutes and you can't get a hold of me later, then I think God needs a Lorrinda in prison. I mean, I actually told her that. And she actually remembers that I called her. And that was exactly how I felt because I knew I hadn't done anything. Okay, so we're going to go to Job 33, 33 and 14. 14. Okay, and this is how it reads over here, which I really like. I really like this. For God speaks again and again, though people do not recognize it. He speaks in dreams, in visions of the night, when deep sleep falls on people as they lie in their bed. He whispers in their ears and terrifies them with warnings. That is comforting to me, that we have God that's always aiming to get a message to us. And isn't one of the things that we do, that we hope to do, is to always be ready or always be willing to listen to the word of God, that when God is speaking to us. So we'll continue with this. Dreams caught my attention. And do you remember in Genesis 37? Well, I don't think we've gotten to Genesis 37 yet, but we know the story of Joseph when he was using his royal assignment of being a dream interpreter in prison. He was using it for his two cellmates. And when Pharaoh was having those weird dreams about the fat calves and the skinny calves, his two cellmates remembered, hey, there was a guy I was in jail with that can do dreams. Maybe you ought to ask him. And do you remember Pilate's wife when she told her husband, don't have anything to do with that just man, when Jesus was on trial, because I have suffered many things because of him. And in the NLT, it says that I had a terrible nightmare last night about him. Okay. So dreams are a way that we can be led by God. So one of the things that I've incorporated is I put a journal beside my bed and one in the kitchen, because I listen to a lot of podcasts and sermons and books and stuff in the kitchen while I'm doing lunch or something. And if something comes to you, you want to be able to capture that. You want to be able to put it somewhere that you can read it, go back to later. Okay, so that thing about dreams. So us actually being sensitive to that. When I dream something that is extra memorable, then I try to write it down. Because a lot of dreams, if you when you wake up and you don't really remember what it was, you feel like you went through something, but you can't really remember it. So any of them that you actually remember, I like to write those down, because it may be something that I will need to connect some other dot for another time or something. So this little thing here, the last thing I want to share before we go is a story about trusting God that really truly happened to me in real life. God needs a Lorrinda in prison. This is part of my testimony. So I had a partnership with some people that did not share my same values. Okay, we just had different values. They wanted to do things one way, and I had a whole other way that we wanted to do things. But I was legally responsible for things. So what ended up happening is the Internal Revenue Service came knocking on my door. I mean, it was just like in the movies with the black Suburban and them wearing had the suits on and all of that. They came to the door, and where I sit in my office, the window is right here and it's facing the road. So I could see that these people in a Suburban were coming up, and it looked very official, and it looked very like very concerning. So by just instinct, I called my mom and I was like, hey mom, if something happens to me in the next few minutes and you can't get a hold of me later, then I think God needs a Lorrinda in prison. I mean, I actually told her that, and she actually remembers that I called her, and that was exactly how I felt because I knew I hadn't done anything. But I had friends, or so-called friends, that really wanted me out of the picture because we didn't have the same values about following the rules. Okay, and I'm a rule follower. I mean, I really am. So if you want to break the rules, especially if you want to break the law, I'm probably not the one to be in business with you because we are not going to get along. And so I just resolved to it that if I go to prison today, then I mean, I know it wouldn't take just one day to go, but that was the feeling I had, and that's what I told her. So just like Joseph was in prison using his gifts, all in that moment, I had went all the way to whatever my gifts are, they must be needed in prison right now because an innocent person is about to go. But as it turned out, when I was at the hearing and I was showing them, all of my records and all of the the things that I had kept to show my daily transactions and all of the forms and everything that I would send in, it was so beautiful. I'm telling you, it was so beautiful right up to the time when they took over. Everything was great in my records. And then you could see another document that said, well, Lorinda's no longer in charge. It's these other people. And the paper trail just followed right along to the people that they needed to be talking to. And in that moment, I'm sitting around this big old table with these agents that, their job is to get some kind of conviction or just get to the bottom of it. In that moment, they were asking me things that a bad business person would be doing. And I lost it just a little bit. And I said, but I just don't do business like that. I just don't do business like that. Do you know that, first of all, I work for the Lord? I do my work as unto the Lord. So the first approval I have to get is from him, even before I get approval from any of my clients or any of that I really want my work to be pleasing to him, because we are here to serve each other and give him glory. I think that's all that's going on here. And so when I went on this big rant about this agent, especially one of the ones especially that was sitting on the end, kind of looking at me going, she really believes this stuff, And he was the one that snapped out of whatever trance he was in. It was like he was going over some things in his mind, and he was not even there with us anymore. And he was the one that stood up and he was like, okay, we're done here. Lorrinda, you are not the one we need to be talking to. We're gonna make this disappear for you. And that was the end of that. So I was free to go, and other people were being arraigned, being called and being detained. So that was my testimony on that. So God uses our assignments for his glory.